I kissed her, I hugged her, I touched her because I knew that it'd be the last time. The last time I'd see her. I knew right then my baby was gone. And I really, really wished at that moment that I could trade places with her.
They always say a mother's heart is deeply connected to her children, so much so that she can feel them from miles away. This makes us wonder how a mother might react if that connection with her children were severed. Amanda is a mother who dedicated her life to her two children, who were her everything. But at a certain point, Amanda loses both of her children due to a very tragic incident. Who is behind all of this, and how did she lose both of them in one day? Let's follow the events from the beginning to understand everything. The story begins in American state of Florida, specifically in a small area called Esto. Esto is a very small town with a population of around 364 people in 2010. Our story, however, actually starts in 2007. Living in this small town was a small family consisting of the mother, Amanda Lewis, who was 27 years old at the time. She was known to be a single mother, meaning she had children but was not married, or she had been married before and separated. Her two children were half-siblings, meaning they had different fathers. Amanda was responsible for raising them, and we don't know much about the fathers of these two children or their relationship with them because she took full responsibility for raising them without a father. Nor do we know much about their relationship with Amanda, but it ended up with Amanda taking full responsibility for the children's upbringing. They lived in the house of her friend named Alan Carnley, who became a friend of the children and part of the family and often brought gifts for the children as if he were their father. Now let's get to know the children. The older daughter's name was Adriana, and she was 7 years old. Her younger brother, AJ, was 1 year younger, making him 6 years old. Despite the small age difference, the personalities of these two children were completely different from each other. And that's perfectly normal. It can happen in any household. Just because kids are raised in the same house doesn't mean they'll have the same personality. For example, AJ was a quiet, obedient, and very smart child, while Adriana loved to play, run around, and was always full of energy, often screaming in the house. She had more energy than usual, and was diagnosed at some point with ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Additionally, she suffered from bedwetting and, at one point, her mother took her to a behavioral center. Eventually, Amanda was called to serve in the army, which meant she had to leave Adriana with someone while she completed her service. She decided to leave Adriana with her family for a few months. But when Amanda returned from the army, she found it challenging to reconnect with Adriana due to the time apart. However, over time, Adriana readjusted to Amanda, and they settled back into their routine. Amanda worked night shifts as a nurse in a nursing home, spending her days at home. In contrast, her friend Alan, who lived with them, would go to work in the morning and return in the late afternoon. This routine continued until August 8, 2007. On that day, Amanda finished her shift and returned home exhausted. She spent most of the day sleeping. Alan was supposed to be at work, and Adriana and AJ were watching cartoons. After a few hours, Amanda woke up, planning to take the kids shopping for school supplies once she was rested. She started getting ready, but the kids kept begging to swim in the backyard pool. Amanda refused because it was very hot, telling them to get ready to go to shopping instead. The kids went outside to play while Amanda finished getting ready. Adriana's voice, as usual, was the loudest. Little did they know, this was their last day together. Within minutes, the beautiful day turned into a real-life horror movie.
She was a happy child. She looked like me, she acted like me. She was like my walking shadow.
Emergency services received a call from Amanda, who was frantically telling them that her little daughter Adriana had fallen into the backyard pool and that her face had turned blue, and her lips were purple, and that Amanda was holding her, trying desperately to revive her.
I need an ambulance.
What's wrong, ma'am?
My daughter fell in the pool and she's not breathing. She's 7 years old.
All right, hang on just a second, ma'am.
Oh, God.
Just a second, ma'am.
Her lips are purple. What do I do? Water's just coming out of her nose.
Yes,
The dispatcher stayed on the line instructing Amanda on how to perform CPR, but the response was slow, wasting precious time. An ambulance was dispatched to the house, where they found Amanda crying, holding Adriana, and trying to revive her to no avail. This photo was taken by the police upon arrival, showing Amanda in tears. Adriana and Amanda were transported to the hospital, while the grandfather, Charles, took AJ home to shield him from the traumatic event. In the hospital, Amanda stood outside the emergency room, her mind racing with the thought that she might lose her daughter. Shortly after, Dr. Renee Fox, who was in charge of Adriana's case, informed Amanda that there was a chance Adriana could survive, and that they were trying to restart her heart. Despite several attempts, Adriana's pulse briefly returned but then stopped again. The doctors realized that Adriana had passed away and informed her mother. Adriana was declared dead at 5:05 p.m. Amanda recounts that in that moment, she touched Adriana for the last time, knowing it would be the final time she saw her. Adriana passed away an hour after arriving at the hospital. Initially, there were no suspicions that the incident was anything but an accident. All the evidence suggested that Adriana had fallen into the pool while playing. However, for hours after the incident, the police received a call that changed everything. The caller claimed to be the only witness to Adriana's death and stated that he was nearby and saw everything, and that what happened was not an accident but a deliberate act. At that point, the police had little evidence to suggest that Adriana had been murdered. Let's delve into more details about the events leading up to the incident. As mentioned, Amanda was getting ready to take the kids shopping while they played outside. Amanda later emerged and asked AJ where Adriana was. AJ responded with the sentence, "Adriana is in the pool." Amanda interpreted this to mean that Adriana was near the pool, not swimming, since she had forbidden them from swimming. Amanda told AJ to go call Adriana so they could leave. As previously mentioned, Adriana was very active, constantly running and playing. Amanda knew that the children couldn't get into the pool by themselves. She always had to set up a ladder for them to climb in, and she had removed the ladder earlier. Therefore, she believed Adriana couldn't have entered the pool. When AJ told Amanda that Adriana was in the pool, she didn't understand it literally. She thought Adriana was just near the pool. Considering AJ was only 6 years old, he might not have described it accurately. But then Amanda noticed the children's voices had stopped, and it became eerily quiet. Alarmed, she ran outside and found Adriana drowned, with AJ trying to pull her out. At first, Amanda thought Adriana was playing with bugs, as sometimes bugs float on the pool's surface. She assumed Adriana had lost her balance and fallen in while playing. The police found this plausible. Even though there wasn't a ladder for Adriana to climb into the pool, there was a toy car she could have used to get in. It was evident that Adriana had used this car. They also found a net in the pool, which suggested she might have been trying to catch bugs, supporting Amanda's initial assumption. However, let's go back to the witness who raised suspicions with the police. This witness came to the police station and described exactly what they had seen, detailing the manner in which Adriana was murdered. The shocking revelation came when the medical examiner performed an autopsy on Adriana's body, and the findings matched the witness's description perfectly. Adriana's body had bruises on her forehead and other parts of her head, indicating that someone had likely held her down and applied pressure in an attempt to drown her.
Red marks when she first came on her forehead, and there was some reddish to light purple marks on her right shoulder.
The unusual aspect of this case was the witness. whose story kept changing. Sometimes the witness claimed to have seen everything, and at other times, they said they were too far away to see anything. This inconsistency made the police suspicious, wondering if the witness was fabricating the story to frame someone else because the person the witness accused was Adriana's mother, Amanda. When Amanda heard the witness's testimony, she vehemently defended herself, insisting that it was an accident and she had no involvement. The police decided to subject her to a lie detector test, which she passed. This left the police in a dilemma. The witness's account seemed plausible, but there was no concrete evidence to prove Amanda was guilty. The police then dug deeper into Amanda's background and interviewed people close to her. When they spoke with Amanda's mother, Brenda Burns, who was married to a man named Charles at the time of the incident but later divorced him, she suggested that it wouldn't be surprising if her ex-husband had coached the witness to lie since disliked Amanda and spent a lot of time with the witness. But her ex, Charles, denied any involvement and stated something important. He said that while he didn't like Amanda and considered her a bad mother who neglected her children and left them hungry all night long, he wouldn't go so far as to frame her for murder. Afterwards, the situation became even more confusing when one witness mentioned that Adriana had a severe fear of water, which raised questions about why she would enter the pool on her own. However, what was truly concerning were the testimonies from Amanda's co-workers who reported witnessing an incident between Amanda and Adriana 3 months prior to the accident. Due to her personality, Adriana sometimes did things that could be irritating. You know how some children can be quite provocative at times. That's how Adriana's personality was. Amanda's co-worker said that on that particular day, Adriana took a permanent marker and scribbled all over Amanda's car, both inside and out, even writing loser inside the car. Amanda was extremely upset and, in her anger, exclaimed, "One day I'm going to kill her." Sometimes, people might say things like "I'm going to kill you" in the heat of the moment without meaning it literally. Now, I'm not sure whether she really did it or not. In some societies, particularly in the West, remarks like these can be regarded seriously, especially if a murder occurs and the suspect's statements are remembered, indicating that they may have acted on them. This is how they perceive it. So, Amanda's co-workers mentioned that she had said that before. Amanda's co-worker commented on this, explaining that while many people might use such expressions when angry, she couldn't imagine saying it to her own children because she cared for their feelings and wouldn't want them to take such cruel statements seriously. The situation became even more troubling when unexplained bruises were found on Adriana's forehead, which corroborated the witness's account. Even if we assume that the drowning was accidental, the cause of the bruises needed to be explained. The police decided to search Amanda's house to uncover the truth behind her co-worker's statements and her former stepfather Charles' claims. When the police entered Amanda's home, they were immediately hit by a terrible stench and found the house to be extremely dirty. What was more alarming was that there were no signs that children lived there, meaning they found the house to be dull and there were no toys anywhere. Typically, in a household with a 6-year-old and a 7-year-old, you would expect to see toys scattered around the living room or at least in the children's bedrooms. However, the investigators only found one small toy, which they found odd. The investigators asked Amanda about the absence of toys. She explained that she had confiscated the children's toys as a form of punishment because they were supposed to clean their rooms. She said she had taken the toys away for a week and planned to return them afterward as a disciplinary measure. The police then asked Amanda to show them where she had stored the toys. When the police went to the place Amanda indicated for the toys, they found nothing. They searched the entire house and confirmed that there were indeed no toys, except for a small red wagon in the yard and a couple of inflatable pool toys. Let's go back to an important point that also caught the attention of the investigators and the doctors handling Adriana's case. When Adriana was in the hospital, Dr. Renee informed Amanda that there was a chance Adriana could survive because her pulse had returned. Dr. Renee asked Amanda if she had any questions. Amanda responded with, "Yes, I have a question. Where is the vending machine?" She seemed concerned about finding a vending machine that sold snacks, which seemed highly inappropriate given the situation. It wasn't time to go buy snacks or ask Dr. Renee that question because the doctor was asking if she had any questions regarding your daughter's condition. Instead, she asked her where the vending machine was. Dr. Renee also noted another observation. When she informed Amanda about Adriana's death, Amanda appeared affected but did not shed a tear. She didn't show genuine emotions, as if she were pretending. Dr. Renee expected a different reaction.
It struck me odd because it was almost calming to me to look into her eyes, and she didn't really have much of a reaction, and it just was very flat.
Unemotional.
However, Amanda's family had a different perspective on her reaction. They stated that her response was due to her strong personality. That's just how she was. Amanda's attorney, Walter Smith, also defended her by saying that Amanda's reaction to her daughter's drowning and her call to emergency services were clear indications of her hysteria and emotional breakdown. When Amanda was interrogated, she denied all the accusations against her and insisted that someone had coached the witness to testify against her, and there basically was no witness to anything and someone taught him what to say. She pointed out that there was no consistent witness testimony and he kept changing his story. Sometimes the witness would say they saw the incident and that Adriana was playing and accidentally drowned, but then they would revert to their original statement. Now, the crucial part of this investigation is identifying the witness, as this greatly impacts the credibility of the testimony. Is it a reliable person and mentally sound or not? The witness turned out to be the 6-year-old child, Amanda's own son, AJ. If you recall, we mentioned that the police received a call 4 hours after Adriana drowned. During this time, AJ was with his grandfather and told him something shocking. "Grandpa, I saw Mom drown Adriana in the pool, and I want to tell the police." The grandfather immediately contacted the police and informed them that AJ had something important to say. The police asked the grandfather to bring AJ in to give his statement and describe exactly what he saw to them. When the investigators asked AJ why his mother did this, he explained that Adriana often did things that annoyed their mother. On that particular day, Adriana had taken a glass cleaner and sprayed it all over the house, which made Amanda very angry. AJ described how Amanda punished Adriana by holding her underwater in the pool, just as he had seen. He said his mother held Adriana in a way that prevented her from screaming.
Mama, don't my sister. When Adriana messes with stuff today, Adriana was just in the pool with Mama. But Adriana was laying like this and Mama holding her on her so she wouldn't scream. She kept on getting dunked. And then I got out the tree because Mama told me to go get Adriana. And then I found her dead in the pool.
Why'd you go to get her?
Because my mama told me to.
Notice that AJ used the term dunked or immersed when describing what happened to his sister. This is a very childlike term, not something an adult would coach a child to say. If an adult had told him what to say, they would likely have used the term drowned. Instead, AJ said dunked or immersed, which sounds more like a child's language. When the investigator asked AJ if he had eaten that day, he said no, he hadn't had breakfast or lunch.
What did y'all have for breakfast?
We didn't have breakfast.
Did y'all have any cereal?
We didn't have nothing for breakfast.
What'd you have today for lunch?
Nothing.
This matched with what his grandfather Charles said. I want to clarify a crucial point. 30 minutes after the incident, AJ's grandfather arrived at the house. By grandfather, we don't mean Amanda's biological father, rather Charles, her stepfather or ex-stepfather. That's why Amanda's mother insisted that Charles must have coached AJ to say these things because of his hatred for Amanda. Charles admitted to disliking Amanda because she didn't feed or properly care for her children. He disliked her only because of those things. Amanda's mother believed that Charles, who spent 15 minutes alone with AJ, could have influenced him. Amanda's attorney also intervened, arguing that the police believed they had a credible witness in the 6-year-old child. The attorney pointed out that it would be easy to coach a child of AJ's age to say certain things and create a false witness. Easy. Dr. Stephen Chechi, an expert in child testimony, supported Amanda's attorney's argument, stating that the police interview with AJ was insufficient. He emphasized that children's testimonies require special handling, especially those of kids as young as AJ, whom he described as having developmental delays. According to the doctor, AJ exhibited behavior typical of a 4-year-old. Even though he was 6, he provided examples of experiments showing how easily children's memories and testimonies can be manipulated over time in order to give a false testimony. For instance, in one experiment, children were told about a rabbit in their school that they never saw, but over time, they began to claim they had seen it. Another example involved children telling fantastical stories they genuinely believed were real. The attorney argued that AJ couldn't have concocted such a detailed and horrific story without someone's help unless he was recounting what he genuinely saw. The probability of it being a product of his imagination was unlikely given his age and the specificity of his account, using childlike language, such as dunk, to describe his sister's drowning. If an adult had been coached to lie to the police, they would need extensive training before giving a false testimony. So imagine how it would be for a child. But this child contradicted himself multiple times. At one point, he claimed to have seen the incident from a tree in the backyard, which was later proven to be an impossible vantage point for seeing the pool. Eventually, he returned to his original story a few weeks ago. Despite these inconsistencies, the police took AJ's initial statements seriously. However, they couldn't find any plausible explanation for the bruises on Adriana's face. Also, the idea that Adriana drowned on her own wasn't logical because, according to the report, the pool was shallow enough for Adriana to stand and breathe. It was designed for children, so she should have been able to stand up and breathe easily. Therefore, the only plausible way she could have drowned was if someone forcefully held her underwater. Considering AJ was younger and weaker, he couldn't have overpowered and drowned her. This left the police with only one possibility: Amanda's involvement. On September 5, 2007, Amanda was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. It was a difficult and heartbreaking situation, as the mother's fate was being decided based on her son's testimony against her for allegedly killing her own daughter.
Imagine a little boy sitting on the stand in open court. That's troubling enough. But now imagine that the story he has to tell is one that could rob him of his mother forever.
Further investigations revealed that Amanda had another child before Adriana and AJ. On one occasion, she left this infant in the crib for a short period, and when she returned, she found the baby not breathing. The doctors at the time diagnosed it as sudden death due to a stroke, but the exact cause was unknown. After Adriana's case, investigators began to suspect Amanda might have been involved in that incident, as well the death of her baby due to an unknown cause. The investigators offered Amanda a plea deal. They proposed that she plead guilty to the crime even if she didn't commit it, in exchange for a reduced charge of manslaughter instead of first-degree murder. This deal would result in a lighter sentence of just 10 years. Amanda refused, insisting that she didn't commit the crime and that she wouldn't plead guilty to something she didn't do, and demanding a fair trial instead of accepting the plea deal. In February 2008, Amanda's trial began. The first and only witness was AJ initially. AJ didn't know his mother was present in the courtroom. This trial marked the first time AJ saw his mother in 6 months. When he realized she was there and saw her, he broke down in tears, a heartbreaking scene.
Can you tell me what a lie is?
It's not the truth.
Can you tell me what the truth is?
It's not a lie.
If I told you your mother was in the courtroom here today, would that be the truth?
No, sir.
Where is your mother?
Jill.
That woman, have you ever seen her before?
Yes, sir.
Who is that?
My mother.
Still in place.
Hey, James. Hey, Jake.
Yes, sir.
Give me your hand. All right.
AJ testified in front of everyone, showing a drawing he made that depicted exactly what happened. This was one of the most poignant moments that touched me, as it was heartbreaking to see a child drawing his mother killing his sister and explaining the events in detail. While AJ's testimony was mostly coherent, he sometimes got confused or his sentences became jumbled, as one would expect from a child. For instance, he once mentioned that his mother was trying to catch bugs, which had nothing to do with the incident, possibly because he was overwhelmed by the questions. Let me remind you that at the time of the trial, AJ was only 7 years old. The thought of being a witness to a murder trial involving his mother and sister was extremely painful. It's common for people to block out traumatic memories, which could explain why AJ couldn't remember exactly where he was standing during the incident. He saw what happened, but he couldn't recall his exact location or what he was doing. Alternatively, he might have realized his mother was in serious trouble and could go to prison, and felt conflicted about his testimony against his own mother. On one hand, he knew he needed to tell the truth about his mother killing his sister, but on the other hand, he understood that his mother could go to jail, leaving him without a parent. This internal conflict and emotional turmoil could explain why 7-year-old AJ kept changing his story based on his feelings. The true story is that Amanda indeed killed Adriana. This was the reality. However, AJ's moments of realization, where he thought he was going to get his mother into trouble and that she would go to jail, made him change his story.
Well, how did she get in there?
The red wagon.
Well, she got in the red wagon to scoop out the bugs, didn't she?
Yes, sir.
And then she fell in the pool, didn't she? That's how she got in the pool, right?
No, sir.
What did Mommy do?
Come running outside.
And what did your mommy do?
I can't remember.
I believe the most credible testimony was AJ's initial statement when he first went to the police station and told them everything. At that point, he didn't know there would be a trial or that his mother could go to jail. He just wanted to tell what happened. He was a child after all, and showed typical childlike behavior during the trial. The defense, however, had a different view. They argued that AJ's testimony should not be taken as reliable evidence due to his inconsistent stories during the investigation. Amanda's mother testified in court that Amanda was indeed quick to anger with Adriana more than with AJ. Amanda's coworker also testified about the same incident she witnessed between Amanda and Adriana.
Did she seem to have, your daughter seemed to have a short temper with Adriana?
Yes, sir. She did have a short temper with her.
How about AJ? Did she have a short temper with AJ?
Not as much.
She was very upset, very irate, and we said, "What's wrong, Amanda?" She said, "I'm just going to kill him and kill her." And I was like, "Don't say that."
The court took all these statements as further evidence that Amanda often mistreated Adriana and neglected her children. The fact that the children had no toys to play with suggested neglect. Amanda had lied about having a room full of toys, which turned out to be false when inspected. Amanda defended herself by saying she didn't mean it literally when she said she'd kill Adriana one day.
You said I could kill her. That's what they said.
Yes, sir, I did.
Did you say that? Did you mean it?
Not in that form, no, sir.
Miss Lewis, did you drown? Adriana?
No, I didn't.
Did you have any reason that day to be mad at her?
One of the strongest pieces of evidence was the medical examiner's description of the bruises on Adriana's forehead. When Amanda was asked to demonstrate how the bruises might have been inflicted using her left hand, she did this. Notice that her action matched AJ's description of how his mother held Adriana.
Adrian was bleeding like this and Mom holding him.
AJ had described the same movement from the first day he talked to the police. Amanda defended herself by reiterating her original story. She went outside to check on the children and asked AJ about his sister. He told her Adriana was in the pool, but Amanda misunderstood and told him to call her. When AJ took a long time, Amanda went to check and found AJ trying to pull Adriana out of the pool. She also explained that on that day, she didn't give them food because Adriana had a stomachache and AJ said he wasn't hungry because he wanted to watch cartoons. Amanda confirmed that Adriana was indeed afraid of water, but wanted to learn to swim.
Adriana was afraid of the water, right?
She was afraid of going under the water.
Adriana didn't know how to swim, did she?
Not very well, no, sir.
Amanda's friend Alan, who lived with her, was also questioned. He explained the layout of the house and mentioned that if AJ had climbed the tree, he wouldn't be able to see the pool unless he was at the very top, which was impossible. He wouldn't be able to climb to the top. At most, AJ could climb onto the trash can and sit on a lower branch. Alan also mentioned that it wouldn't take much effort to push down the pole due to its light structure, and a child's weight could be enough to bring it down. We'll get back to this point later. However, Alan was at work during the incident and believed that Adriana might have fallen into the pool herself.
How do you know Adriana leaned into that pool, sir?
Well, I wasn't there, but that's pretty much what I believe happened. Yes, sir.
Alan contradicted himself. When asked if Amanda had told him that she saw AJ trying to pull his sister out of the pool, Alan said she didn't mention it to him. He stated they didn't have time to discuss the details of the incident. The investigator responded to Alan, pointing out that Adriana drowned on August 8th and Amanda was arrested on September 5th, nearly a month later. He questioned how Alan could say they didn't have a chance to discuss the incident during that time. Alan's testimony concluded, and Amanda's trial lasted only 2 hours, with a brief recess. The judge was very strict with her. The jury decided that Amanda was guilty of first-degree murder and child abuse. In March of the same year, Amanda Lewis was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
They're either death or life imprisonment. This court adjudges you to be guilty of that crime and sentences you to imprisonment in the Florida Department of Corrections for the remainder of your life.
It's astonishing to think that Amanda was offered the chance to serve only 10 years in prison if she had just confessed. If she had accepted the plea deal, she would have been out by now instead of facing a life sentence. But she refused. If she was indeed guilty, why did she refuse the deal? It seems foolish, as the evidence was bound to convict her anyway. Agreeing to the deal would have meant 10 years in prison instead of a lifetime. How stupid! In 2010, Amanda filed an appeal arguing that severe child abuse should not be used as the primary felony in a first-degree murder charge if only one act of abuse led to the child's death. However, this appeal was unsuccessful, and her conviction was upheld. 3 television programs, including one hosted by Piers Morgan, highlighted this case. Dr. Todd Grande discussed the case on his channel this year, 2024, and expressed that he does not believe Amanda is guilty. He criticized the state for basing their judgment on the unreliable testimony of a child. Amanda appeared on a television show called Killer Moms and denied that she killed Adriana, despite her son's testimony. Some users shared their opinions, suggesting that Adriana might have slipped and fallen into the pool, possibly hitting her head on something. This type of pool can be dangerous even for adults because its edges are slippery and smooth, making it difficult to hold on, unlike pools with metal edges. As Alan mentioned, the pool can easily collapse under pressure. In the end, opinions about the case are divided. Some people believe Amanda is innocent and that AJ was coached to create this story. Others think she is guilty, but that the crime might have been manslaughter rather than premeditated murder. The last group supports the court's ruling, believing she is guilty of first-degree murder. I hope Amanda was not wrongfully convicted and that she received the punishment she deserved. If she was wronged, I hope the truth comes to light. She lost both of her children at once, Adriana and AJ. AJ was adopted by another family who reportedly took good care of him, allowing him to continue his studies. That's AJ now. As AJ grew older, he got into a relationship with a girl named Haley, but there are no further updates about her. AJ has expressed his desire to live the rest of his life in peace and privacy, away from these matters and his painful past. It's truly tragic that a child had to witness such a horrific event and endure such a loss. Many considered AJ an exceptional child for bearing all that pressure at just 7 years old. Now that he's grown, he has the chance to speak up if his testimony was coerced or if he was threatened and coached as a child. He has the chance to say if someone had coached him to make a false testimony as a child. However, this hasn't happened. After presenting all these viewpoints, what do you think? Do you believe Amanda is guilty or innocent? I'd love to read your thoughts and comments below. If you have any opinions I haven't mentioned, I'd like to hear or read them too. That's the end of today's video. If you liked it, don't forget to like and share it everywhere to support me. Thank you so much, and the better is yet to come.